What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Better Plays Ahead. And this is week 12. It's Thanksgiving week. Everyone's home with their families. They're out celebrating. It's a good time. We're out stuffing our faces, and we get Thursday, Friday, and Sunday football for today. My name is Sam Wagman. I'm your host, and with me, as he is every single week, is our resident betting analyst, fantasy ranker extraordinaire, the man himself, Frank Ammirante. Frank, how you doing this fine week, my friend?
What's up? I'm feeling great. This is the best slate of the year. Thanksgiving. Love the 3 games we get on Thursday. We got a lot of intriguing spots for bets, and we're gonna get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to start right away by heading right into the chalkboard uh, play for today, and we have the Dolphins minus 9.5 here, and it's a play both of us liked because it makes sense. Why would we trust Tim Boyle, who has never been good? He has the one of the highest interception rates of all time. It's 7.5%. If you stuck that up there with the all-time stats for interception rate, that ranks third worst all time. So it is not very good at all. I just have no faith in Tim Boyle coming in and doing anything with the Jets at this point because, look, I think he's worse than Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson was playing really bad. I don't know if Garrett Wilson's healthy. The Jets just look like an absolute mess. I mean, Tim Boyle is still playing behind the same offensive line that Zach Wilson was. He's still playing with the same offense that Zach Wilson was. So why should we expect that things will be really any different? I think I would be even afraid if Aaron Rodgers was behind this line. So I have no faith. The Dolphins, 10 points is a lot of points. Hopefully, if you're looking at betting this game, you look to get the hook at 9.5. That's always the smart play here. And I don't know. Jalen Ramsey's been lights out. Frank, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, it's hard to see the Jets really doing anything on offense. I think Jets fans will be yearning for the days of Zach Wilson once they see Tim Boyle, how he plays. As you mentioned, he's just really struggled even back when in college. The Dolphins should cruise and sleepwalk to a win here. It's going to likely be an ugly game. I do like one prop here. It's just Tim Boyle under 162.5 passing yards. Like you said, he's really struggled, and Miami's defense has improved with Jalen Ramsey back. There's also a chance that, hey, if he's playing poorly, what's to stop the Jets from benching him and bringing in Trevor Siemian? So that helps you out with the under as well in that prop. Dolphins cruise. Love this play.
Yeah, the line isn't out yet, but I would be very interested to see what a ladder down would look like for Tim Boyle there. I wonder if you could ladder it down into the 120s, and you might be able to get some nice value there. I don't think the Jets will be throwing a lot of passes in this game. Even against Miami, obviously, but I think they're just going to end up relying on run game. They're going to put themselves in bad spots. Penalties have been an issue with them. I don't see a lot of pass to a positive game script for the Jets at all in this game. So Miami, who is getting 85% of the bets and 80% of the handle anyway, so everyone is on them just about. I expect to see that number rise, a decent amount into the 90s as we get closer to Friday's game here. But yeah, that is going to be our chalkboard play, and it's a play that we're both aligned on. So it's our only chalkboard play of this week. But we do also have a trap game for this slate, and we will go right into that with the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers. So Frank, why don't you take us through that one?
Yeah, you look at this spread. The Ravens are only 3.5-point favorites against the Chargers. Baltimore, you could argue, is the best team in the AFC right now, whereas the Chargers just lost to the Packers, where they made constant mistakes. They should have easily won that game. So you look at that and you're like, wow, only 3.5. Well, this is still a team with Justin Herbert who's playing at a high level. We've seen Baltimore play down to their competition at times, losing to the Colts earlier in the year. And I have an interesting trend brought to you by a content creator named Steven Nover, who also does work for us at the Game Day with college basketball. And I really like this one. The Chargers, in their last 16 games, when they've been 3.5 or greater underdogs, they are 15-1 against the spread. This game, they're plus 3.5, so it applies. I think they will keep it close. It's a must-win situation for them to stay in playoff contention. Primetime game, I think actually they'll win outright, to be honest, but all we need is them to lose by a field goal. So this looks like the trap of the week. I'm on the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm also on the Chargers here, and this is an interesting spot because look, the Ravens I think are probably the best team in the AFC. It's probably a toss up with the Chiefs if we're being honest, but they do a lot of things better than the Chiefs. But I can't help but think this could be a letdown game. They play Jacksonville and San Francisco. 2 weeks from now, that's a tough duo of games. They're gonna have to get ready for the playoffs and working to secure the first round bye, the number one overall seed in the AFC. Maybe they just lay off the gas a little bit here. I mean, the Chargers are currently 13th in the AFC playoff race. I don't really think they're a threat to make playoff contention. Brandon Staley's probably going to get fired if he loses this game. This could definitely be a letdown spot for the Chargers, and this is also a follow the money play for me. When these lines released yesterday morning, the Chargers were 4.5 point underdogs. Now they're 3.5 point underdogs. It's usually a sign of sharp money coming in on one side to start the week. That's when the sharps usually get their money in. Public money doesn't come until later in the week. That tells me that the sharps see this as the right side, and I am playing along with the sharks at this point. So I like it. Frank likes it, and that is our trap play of the week. So back the Chargers with us. And then we're going to move right along into the Thanksgiving slate, which is what we know you all came here for when you're, shoveling down some turkey and some stuffing, sweet potato pie, marshmallows, everything, all that good stuff. You get some football to go right along. We've got a nice trio of games here between the Packers and Lions first, the Commanders and the Cowboys, and then the night game is the 49ers and the Seahawks, and that should be the real good one. But we're going to start right along and head right into our plays here. Frank, why don't you start us off with your favorite prop for the Packers and Lions game?
Yeah, I love David Montgomery to go over 66.5 rushing yards. He rushed for 121 yards against these Packers back in week 4. This is a vulnerable run defense. We've seen them get gashed on the ground recently by Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. The Lions are 7.5 point home favorites, so they're projected to play with a lead, which means it's likely they will run the ball more often as they try to, control the game and drain the clock as they're leading. Now, you look at Montgomery's game log. He's gone over this number in 6 of 7 games. The one time he didn't go over it was because he left in the second quarter with an injury against Tampa Bay. So it's a low bar at 66.5. The matchup is right. The projected game environment looks good. And this is one of my favorite plays of the Thanksgiving slate.
Yeah, I like this as well. Obviously, Green Bay with the rush funnel, one of those great plays as well. I thought it was funny that we both hopped on a Detroit Lions running back. I am on the other Lions running back in Jahmyr Gibbs to go over 77.5 rushing and receiving yards. And this is a play that's hit in each of his last 4 games. And coincidentally enough, those coincided with when Montgomery went down with his injury. And when he's come back, this has kind of been more of a Gibbs-friendly offense here. He's kind of seen the work share flop here. He's taken a lot more of the touches inside the 20 as well. We all love those high-value touches for fantasy. But for betting, they work just as well, especially when he's basically receiving all of the passing down work at this point. And he's become a much greater usage point for the running game as well. And Green Bay gives up 141 rushing yards per game in their last 3 games. Like I said, they're a huge rush funnel. People tend to stay away from their cornerbacks, especially when Jair Alexander's there and the others are there as well. So I can't see Detroit really attacking too much there. They want to run smash mouth football. That's exactly what Dan Campbell wants to do. He wants to run the ball. He wants to run the line. He wants to run it up your throat, and he wants to bash the kneecaps in while he's doing it. So it all works out there well there. And Gibbs is also averaging 47.3 receiving yards over his last 4 games as well. And that should come in handy for this as well, because I think he's going to do a lot of damage throughout the air. Green Bay, is middle of the pack in defending against running back receiving yards, but it is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a special one. So Jahmyr Gibbs over 77.5 rushing and receiving yards is my favorite play for this slate. And let's hop on over to the 49ers and Seahawks game for your next pick, Frank.
Yeah, so I got Deebo Samuel over 62.5 rushing and receiving yards, and it's for this reason. He has absolutely dominated the Seahawks throughout his career. Let me give you a list of their total yards against Seattle throughout those games. 165, 97, 157, 135, 112. So he has flown over this 62.5 number in each of those matchups. I think the Niners will look to get Deebo more involved. You know, Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, and of course Christian McCaffrey have had big games throughout the year. But they haven't really gotten Deebo going too much yet. I think this is a spot to do so against a team that he's dominated. Since Deebo's returned from injury, he's totaled 62 and 59 yards, so he's right around this number. I think he'll comfortably eclipse it in this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that as well. And look, Seahawks, not great against defending these San Francisco receivers. And the 49ers have absolutely crushed the Seahawks coverage schemes the last couple times they played them. Both Ayuk and Deebo absolutely crush against the zone coverage that Seattle loves to run. They run, I think, the third highest amount of zone coverage in the NFL, and both Deebo and Brandon Ayuk rank in the top 15 of wide receivers in fantasy points per route run against that coverage. So I'm expecting a good amount of Deebo Samuel in this game as well, specifically since we haven't really seen him featured that much in the last couple of games. It might be time for a primetime Deebo game, and he loves to show up under the lights as well. I'm going to hop back on over to the third game of this slate for my last two props here. And I took two Commanders props, one over and one under. We're going to start with the over, and we're going to go with Logan Thomas over 3.5 receptions. And this thing is juiced heavily on all the books. I was able to find it at minus 155 on the Hard Rock app. And that's the lowest that I could find it. It's minus 166 on DraftKings as well and FanDuel. Not a terrible number there if you put it in as a parlay piece, but this is a number that he should definitely hit. He's been over this number in 7 of his last 10 games, and he's hit it in each of the last 5 games as well. And look, we know the Commanders are going to be throwing in this game because they throw in every game. Sam Howell's passing attempts number is set at 39.5 for this game. Now, I know Dallas doesn't allow that many passing attempts, but they can be beat in the middle of the field. That's where they have been beat at times this season. We've seen some tight ends have good days against them. You don't want to go down the field against Dallas. That's where their cornerbacks have shined. But in the middle of the field without Leighton Vander Esch to kind of pick up some of the slack there as a linebacker, I think you're safe targeting some of these tight end plays against them. And Logan Thomas has been a focal point of this offense lately. He's really kind of become the de facto number 2 behind Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel's been hurt. Jahan Dotson has been, well, you'll see soon. And Thomas is good, man. He's a good, reliable pass catcher, and I think he definitely gets over 3.5 catches for this one.
Yeah, he's gotten over this, I believe, in 5 straight. Like you said, they feature him, and the Cowboys are tougher to beat on the perimeter, and they're pass heavy, the Commanders are. So it's got to go somewhere, and I think it will go to Logan Thomas. I also took his yards on this one at 41.5. It actually went down, so I'm a little upset about that, but I still think he'll go over it. They're going to feature him prominently in this game.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some negative CLV on some of these numbers as we get closer to game time on Thursday, simply because the Cowboys have been shutting down passing yardage lately. But I do think they just have to throw to Logan Thomas. I think he's going to be the only outlet guy that's open consistently for them because they really don't have someone to cover him. So that's kind of my play here. And I kind of went along with that for my last prop here for the Thursday slate. And I took Jahan Dotson over 34.5 receiving yards. And we've gotten a little bit of CLV on this as well, as the number has gone down to 32.5 on DraftKings where I got it. But look, another one here for Dotson, just underperforming across the board. They played 11 games this year. He's gone over this number in 4 of those games. Dotson has not been good. This is a guy that a lot of fantasy analysts and betting analysts were touting as a huge difference maker for the Commanders. I'm sure Frank can tell you, as he is a suffering Commanders fan. Look, I mean, the Cowboys can shut down the deep passing game really well, which is where Dotson has thrived. At least he did last year. They've allowed the second fewest attempts of 20-plus yards passing downfield per FTN, and he's had a really rough couple of weeks. His last 2 games, he's only been at 5 and 10% target share, and he's not earning targets either. His ADOT number is down. Like nobody's really earning, great targets on the Commanders right now. But Dotson is not doing anything to like separate himself and kind of gain momentum as the wide receiver too, which is kind of why I like Logan Thomas a lot more in this matchup. But unless Dotson gets a fluke deep shot, I don't think there's a chance he goes over this.
Like it, yeah. Like we said, the Cowboys are tough on the outside. That's where Dotson is. Good one.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to hop into the betting board for Week 12 as well. Now, there's no props available, so we've compiled a few of our favorite sides and totals for this game. And we're going to start with you, Frank. You went to the Buccaneers and Colts game and picked something that I kind of thought I might see you pick. I kind of wanted to pick it myself. I'm glad you did. So why don't you explain it to us?
Yeah, so I'm going with the Bucs and Colts over 43.5. The Colts are one of the fastest paced teams in the NFL. So because they're playing fast, the opposing team ends up playing fast too, because you see the Colts may go on a 3-and-out and really take hardly anything off the clock because they're moving so quickly. So both teams end up running more plays, and it lends well for the over, especially when the Colts are at home in that, offensive friendly environment indoors. So the Colts at home, look at their games. They've combined for 65, 77, 39, 52, and 52 points. So 4 out of those 5 games have comfortably gone over this number. And the Bucs are inefficient in the running game, so they're likely to air it out more. They lean more to the pass. I think they will in this one. I really like Rashad White, really like Mike Evans. I think we can see this one go over, especially with how poorly the Bucs pass defense has played. They've been shredded all year, most recently by Brock Purdy. We saw what C.J. Stroud did to them. I think Gardner Minshew will be able to find Michael Pittman and Josh Downs early and often in this one, and this should go over.
Yeah, this is kind of going to be a very, like you said, very fast-paced game here. The Colts have been just moving the ball very, very quickly. They don't pass the ball a lot. They rank fourth lowest in passing rate over expectation. They love to run the ball though, and they move it down the field. They do it pretty efficiently. Obviously Jonathan Taylor has returned to his normal workhorse role as commander of the backfield there, but Zach Moss is still there in a pinch as needed. And despite the fact that the Bucs have been a big passing funnel, they can still get beat by the run as well. They haven't played well there. It all hinges on the health of Vita Vea. Always hinges on the health of Vita Vea in the run game there. If he's there and he's healthy, that's a game changer. If not, well, could be there. But they definitely can get beat down the field in the passing game. Like you said, they love to run the hurry up offense there. Gardner Minshew loves to throw it fast. He loves to throw it deep, or as far as his arm allows him to. And then on the other side, the Buccaneers have done really well in some spots. Obviously, they still have the massive deep threat in Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is always there over the middle. Cade Otton's been really reliable. And then obviously Devin Tompkins has been, a nice little spark plug at times, getting, some deep crossers as well there. So I think there's opportunity for offense on both sides. And also, I think these are 2 bad defenses. The Colts are a sneaky bad defense, especially against the run. So, and they did just release Shaq Leonard as well. So we could see some fireworks in this game. 43.5 definitely feels too low for this game. So I was really glad he took this. I almost took it myself, but left it for you because I know that Colts pace of play is one of your favorite things to attack. Yeah. We're going to hop on over to my first play. And this is the play that's gotten some positive CLV as well for me. I took Houston and Jacksonville to go over their total as well. And this thing is up to 48.5 now. I originally took it at 46.5. I took it again at 47.5 because I wanted to knock off that key number of 48. And I was happy I got there because this thing has zoomed up ever since then. So let's dive into it a little bit. I mean, this is a divisional matchup. So, first of all, I'm going contrarian against the fact that divisional matchups tend to be, a little bit more grittier, a little bit lower scoring because this is two teams that love to throw the ball. Obviously, the Jaguars have not been their best at throwing the ball, but they do rank sixth in pass rate over expectation. Calvin Ridley is finally starting to come back on, and it's all thanks to Zay Jones. And I can't believe that sentence just came out of my mouth like in 2023. Like, we needed Zay Jones to unlock Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
But look, when Zay Jones plays, Calvin Ridley averages 15 more fantasy points per game. He's had his 300-yard games in the games where Zay Jones has played. He just had his best game of the season. And I think this is another prime spot. I mean, we saw the Texans defense kind of get exposed a little bit, through the air at points. They really tried to make that game go over against Arizona. It really should have gone like well over the total last week. The only reason it sat at 37 for so long was because there was, I think, 4 red zone turnovers in that game. Stroud threw some pretty ugly picks in that game as well. I'm not quite sure he's going to do that against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is some of the worst corners in the NFL. They get beat all the time down the field here. And I really just love the fact that Tank Dell and Nico Collins have formed this really seamless partnership on the outside perimeter of the Texans offense because they're just really good. Devin Singletary has back-to-back games of 100-plus rushing yards, so he's been playing really efficiently lately. So I love that. And then on the other side, Trevor Lawrence has had 260-plus passing yards in 2 of his last 3 games. And despite the fact that he hasn't had the best season, he can still really sling it whenever he needs to. Obviously, Travis Etienne should have a great game as well. And the Texans have one of the, lesser run defenses in the league as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons that this game can go over. And I think we see a lot of sparks in this one.
Yeah, totally with you. This is going to be an exciting game. Looking forward to it. Battle of the AFC South, up-and-coming Texans. Love to see it from C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell.
Yeah, that would definitely be really interesting if they were able to knock things up atop the AFC South there. Let's go to your other bet here, and you took a look at this Chiefs and Raiders game.
Yeah, so I took the Raiders plus 9.5. It's just because they're playing much more competitively under interim head coach Antonio Pierce. They're 3-0 against the spread since Pierce took over. He's riled up that locker room. He's a former football player. It seems like a player's coach. Really seems like the players love playing for him, and they're playing hard. And this Chiefs offense is just not the same this year. They've been held to 21 points or fewer in 7 of 10 games. And it's just hard to lay 9.5 on the road when your offense is playing like that. And when your divisional opponent, I might add, is playing some of their best football of the year. Like, they only lost by 7 to Miami. I think they can keep it relatively close, the Raiders, that is, in this game against the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 9.5. This is not last year or the year before's Chiefs.
I don't know about this. I'm a little bit off this one. I'm actually going to disagree with you here and take Kansas City, especially getting the hook there. I do think that this last week's game will have pissed them off to some pretty heavy degree. Let's be honest. Look, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm as diehard as they come. But the Eagles should have lost that game by multiple touchdowns. Don't care about the conditions. It's just the Chiefs are a really, really good football team. And despite the fact that the Raiders are playing really well under Antonio Pierce, are they really good enough to hold off the Chiefs of all teams? This is a Raiders team that beat the Jets and Giants.
We just need them to lose by 9. That's it.
I know, but I'm not sure that they can score on the Chiefs defense here. This is probably the best defense in football. They've looked incredibly good the last handful of games. And let's be real, the the Dolphins gave away multiple chances to win the game last week against the Raiders by 2 touchdowns. Just had just so many opportunities squandered, and the Raiders really should not have covered that spread. I don't think they're going to cover this spread either. I would be interested in the under. I think this is probably like a 21-7 type of game. So, low scoring type of game. Raiders really struggle to score. Chiefs have, 2 or 3 long sustained drives, put it away. Patrick Mahomes shows why, he's Patrick Mahomes, and Aiden O'Connell is Aiden O'Connell. So that's kind of my feeling there. But, 9 is a lot of points. I don't see it happening in this one. All right, we're going to go on to my last pick of the show here. And I took an under of my own. I took the Saints and the Falcons to go under 42 in this one. And this is a real simple handicap for me here. Jameis Winston, possibly, probably. No Derek Carr, he's still in concussion protocol, versus Desmond Ridder. 2 quarterbacks that really, really suck. And 2 offenses that have been really inefficient at times. I mean, Derek Carr, when he was healthy, wasn't even doing that well. Jameis Winston has proved to be the same Jameis Winston we've been used to for the past 8 years. He's still a turnover machine. He's still inefficient. He's fun, but he's not good. We can keep tossing him out there. We're going to get the same story over and over again, but he's still fun to watch. But that doesn't mean we're going to see points go up on the board. I'm just not sure. This offense, it just hasn't looked that good recently, and I'm not quite sure that they can really do anything in this game against the Falcons defense that's actually been kind of efficient, especially against the run. And I'm not quite sure that the Saints are going to be able to move the ball that well in this game. They've had a lot of trouble moving the ball at times this season. And then on the Falcons side, Desmond Ridder has been really bad when he started this year. Obviously, there was a good reason that he got benched for Taylor Heineke. The only reason it took Arthur Smith was so long was because he's Arthur Smith. But now that Heineke is injured again, we have to go back to Desmond Ridder, and we have to watch him neglect Drake London, neglect Kyle Pitts, neglect Bijan Robinson. We'll probably see Tyler Algier running the ball in the red zone again now. Arthur Smith is everything he wants to piss us off as football fans. And we're going to have to sit through and watch this game. But I don't think these teams get to 42. I don't even think these teams get to 32. This is, a prime 17-14 ugly game to me. And I truthfully don't even care who wins it, honestly. Both these teams suck. So taking the under here, rolling with that, and that'll be one miserable game of football that you bet and then you don't watch.
Yeah, it's going to be an ugly one for sure. But I will hope that Winston starts for Chris Olave, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the one silver lining, right? Is that he was able to get Olave massively involved. Obviously, Olave's ADOT, is already super high because Dennis Allen just doesn't believe in throwing to the middle of the field. And anything underneath for Olave, making things easier. Obviously, everything has to be hard. But with Jameis Winston, things get doubly hard because all he does is throw 30-plus yards down the field. I expect we'll see a lot of that in this game, especially without Michael Thomas for the foreseeable future as well. But I want to thank you guys all again for tuning in to this week's episode of Better Plays Ahead. As always, he's Frank Ammirante. You can find him at F Ammirante TFJ on Twitter /X/whatever. You can find me on Twitter at Swagman95. And as always, check out everything over at the Game Day NFL, and then check out our promo codes on the Game Day NFL, especially our FanDuel one over there as well. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Go eat some turkey, go eat some great stuffings, all that stuff. Hit the promo code right below, the QR code right there, and we will see you guys next week.